Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, the 31st of January, and I would like to do a report for what happened yesterday. And I didn't do a report yesterday because there were so many things going on, and which kind of led me to believe that it would be business as usual, and that's pretty much exactly what's happened. It's business as usual again. And they have so many different things. They have, I think, 7 operating systems that can fire weapons at us, from satellites, from the cell towers, from handheld weapons. They broadcast their underground, this Gwen weapon system underground, and also they broadcast weapons from the MILABs, and which had been sealed. But there's a group of criminals that are called Special Ops, and they reopened these locations. And, I don't have time to go because I'm doing this on a tablet, so I don't have time to repeat the same information, because a lot of times people will watch a video and then they don't have any background, but I can't just keep repeating the same information over and over again. There's not enough time, because I only have about 10 minutes on the tablet, and that usually takes about 2 hours to download. But MILABs are, there's 39 of them in the United States, and they're used to create temporals and artificial drones, and also biological weapons, viruses mostly, chemical weapons of mass destruction, and their major thing also is child trafficking. And then they have what's called transhumanism experiments. And they do a lot of experiments on humans. Okay, yesterday, 136 children were gang raped and murdered in 7 locations. These 136 children arrived at Nellis Air Force Base around 9 a.m. And they were all from China. And they were collected in China, abducted, and then they were taken to the Shanghai MILAB, where they were raped at least 20 times each. And then the Air Force picked them up and brought them over to Nellis Air Force Base, and 71 of these children were raped by the Air Force. 16 Air Force pilots raped 71 of these children on the way over. And the locations that they ended up at were the Pentagon. 36 children were gang raped by 307 Pentagon males, and then they were killed by 36 high-ranking military men. Washington, D.C., MILAB number 1. 12 children were gang raped by 46 males, 27 senators, 14 House of Representatives, 5 CIA agents, and then they were killed by 12 senators. All the senators, except for 2, I believe, are Nazi war criminals. And it was a senator from Hawaii, and then this other one, I can't remember where she was from. I think her name was Claire. But all the other women, like Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein, were murdered, and they've been replaced. And they all have passed lifetimes as Nazi war criminals. In Washington, D.C., number 2, 3 children were raped and murdered by Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Martin O'Malley. Wilmington, Delaware, 4 children were gang raped by 17 males, military contractor, corporate executives, and then 4 CEOs killed the children, including the CEO of Aerostar Industries and the CEO of Rand Corporation, which is a major war criminal company. Grand Rapids, 18 children were gang raped by 112 males, 3 CEOs, and members of the TSA, DHS, CIA, FBI, and 3 local politicians. And there's a lot going on up here in Michigan. They have a major TSA hub where they're also, a lot of the times children are brought there, and then they're raped, and then they're brought to the Grand Rapids MILAB. But there is a huge amount of military activity, which is underground in Michigan. Also, they have Detroit has a MILAB. And Indianapolis, here we go again in Indiana. 10 children were gang raped by 46 males, including Mike Pence, Greg Zeller, 3 CEOs, 14 Indiana State Troopers, 12 Indianapolis Municipal Police Department officers, and 15 state senators. And this is very personal for me because I've been raped by a lot of these men. This was the 24th child that was murdered by Mike Pence, who has a clone. And so what they do is there's a public meeting, they put the clone in the public meeting, and that way the regular criminal can go murder the child. 7 Indiana State Troopers, they each murdered a child, and that makes 27 children that have been murdered by these 7 Indiana State Troopers. I went to the Indiana State Police because I can't see their faces. And something's happened to me because I've been raped by all 7 of them multiple times, but I can't see their faces for some reason. And Indiana State Police thought it was a big joke. They thought it was very funny. They're very, very proud to support their 14 pedophile state troopers. Also, 1 Indianapolis Municipal Police Department officer murdered a child. That was his first. And another child, the last child, was murdered by a state senator named Brent Waltz, who is also a Nazi war criminal, and this was the second child that he's murdered. And in case you're wondering about the clones, I did a scan for DNA this morning, and I found 1,216 clones. They had recently produced 1,247 of them, but for some reason now we only have 1,216. I think they're burning out. 1,108 of those clones have each raped a child. And 16 of these clones have murdered either a child or someone else. And which really bothers me because they're real people. They're just basically a carbon copy of the original. But we have all these clones running around committing all these crimes. And, you know, it's just, what a system for them. They, you know, either the clone committed crime while the person's in public or vice versa. And then the last group of children, 53 children were taken to Roswell, and they were raped by 356 males. 356 males on 53 children. And they were men of DARPA, CIA, FBI, TSA, DHS, Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Marines, and the special ops men who opened the sealed doors of MILABS and reopened. They had to remove, I don't know exactly how they were sealed, but the doors and the tunnels to the locations were sealed. And these are the ones who were chosen to murder. And then there were also 7 others that raped but didn't get selected to murder because they compete with each other to see who gets to murder the children. Heaven had told me that the more children they feel, the more children that they rape and murder, the more that they will be rewarded in the afterlife, that they each receive their own universe. And I really don't think it works that way. But what I do know is there was a group of beings called the Archons. And the Archons would manage souls. And I don't really understand how it works. Well, even in the MILABS, I don't think it's happening anymore. But when a group of children were murdered, they were so traumatized that they would miss their tunnel of light, and then they would capture the souls and put them in some kind of a container. And then people like Dick Cheney or John Brennan would go in and they would put the souls of the children inside of them. And we went through a process where we cleaned, well, I think it was 267 souls of children that I pulled out of John Brennan at one point. That was a couple of years ago, back when they were putting the snakes in my body. And which went on repeatedly. I think it was over 2,000 snakes that they had ended up putting in my body. At the end, they were putting in like 15 or 20 at a time, which that was a real special treat. I can't tell you how glad I am that that's over. But now I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the souls of the children. And lately, though, the angels have been right there to help the souls of the children go home. And then we had a couple more ships come in, and you know, those of you who know me and know my work, we had 1,738 Draco Alpha Draconis dark entity beings that were here. Well, 14 more came in, and I really haven't had time to do research, but they came in on one of the ships because they came in. All the temporals were destroyed, and more were brought in. And then they were all destroyed, and then more were brought in. And it's just like really literally trying to hold back a tsunami wave with your hands. You know, if you see these in the movies, you see these tidal waves that are like as tall as apartment buildings. It's literally like standing out there with your hands trying to stop it. And it's very frustrating because, you know, I feel like I'm the only one who's doing it, but it doesn't really matter because I think the lives of these children are far more important. And but at least, you know, I have to remain grateful because at least as they come in, they're being destroyed. And last time I checked, there were no artificial intelligence drones, and those are the ones they bring into our homes to fire weapons at us and kill us. Either the drone has to be destroyed or you do, one or the other. But overall, except for the fact that this child trafficking operation is now back in full force again, overall we have made a lot of successes, and at least the souls of the children who are being murdered now make it home to heaven. And thank you for your prayers. I just, you know, it just seems to me like there are so many people who support the military and think that they're heroes, and they have so much hero worship. And people like, you know, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, who everywhere he goes, people think he's some kind of a hero. Well, he's really murdered 24 children, and he's raped hundreds. I think it was last time it was over 136 or whatever. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I think people need to change their attitude towards these horrible criminals instead of worshiping them like heroes. But thank you for your prayers, and they have really made a huge difference. You know, and like I said, at least these waves of temporals that are being brought in from other locations, and those other 14 Alpha Draconis already, I think 7 or 8 of them have already been arrested and sent into the light. I'm sure the others will show up soon. They always do. Thank you for your prayers. I hope you have a nice Sunday.